The Falcons have made a pair of re-signings, starting with KhaDarel Hodge, a fan favorite, a core special teams player. It's the second special teams ace, if you will, they've signed today. Mike Ford came over from Cleveland, and now Hodge re-signing on a 2-year, $6 million contract. That was not the only re-signing they made, by the way. They also are bringing back Ta'Quon Graham, former 5th-round pick, who is playing on the defensive line. So a pair of re-signings for Atlanta, and I've got some Kirk Cousins rumors / new development, which I'll get to in a little bit, but just a quick update and just breakdown of the Hodge re-signing. I think this is a great signing for the special teams unit. Plus, we saw in the overtime game against the Buccaneers, he knows how to play offense. He knows how to play the receiver position as well, but overall, I'm looking at this as a special teams boost, and Younghoe Koo was the thing holding them back in special teams. I didn't think the rest of the unit was that dreadful or that bad or anything, but I love bringing back Hodge for the Falcons and bringing in Mike Ford. You've got two great special teamers for a third of the game. So KhaDarel Hodge comes back to Atlanta for yet another season. Don't have super high expectations for him as a wide receiver. That's perfectly fine. That's not really what you're trying to get out of him or paying him to do. You are paying for him to help you in the field position battle when it comes to flipping the field on special teams and to make impact plays on special teams as well. Anything beyond that, it's gravy. So Hodge, welcome back to Atlanta, a fan favorite for sure. And then we've got Ta'Quon Graham re-signing with the Falcons as well. This one happened 5-10 minutes after it was announced that Eddie Goldman, who I thought just might retire again, is going to the Commanders. So the Falcons bring back one of their defensive linemen. They've lost Grady Jarrett and Eddie Goldman now, but they do retain a former 5th-round pick of theirs who has always been a solid rotational piece. Very little pass rush upside whatsoever, if any, but that's not really his job. What is his job? His job is to clog up the middle of the line, eat up the center and the guard, let the linebackers do their job, and Ta'Quon Graham, for a guy who plays 35, maybe 40% of snaps per game, can do an adequate job of that for a cheap 1-year deal. So neither one of these are major, moving mountains type signings. I like the Hodge one more than the Graham one, and I think the Falcons do as well. That's reflected in a 2-year, $6 million deal for Hodge, whereas Graham likely getting just a cheap 1-year near vet minimum contract. But the Falcons defensive line is going to look a little bit different in the future with no Grady Jarrett and no Eddie Goldman for now a part of it. I'm sure there'll be some more changes made throughout the rest of free agency and the draft. Now, next up on the show, I want to share what this new development is for Kirk Cousins. But really quickly, if you have not subscribed yet, I invite you to do so. Click the sub button down below. We're going to make sure you get all of your Falcons free agency news and rumors coverage that you need. So if you are looking for a free Atlanta Falcons YouTube channel, give it a shot. If you don't enjoy the content, it's free, so you can always unsubscribe at any point. But consider joining us here as we are trying to reach 35,000 subscribers. Now, let's talk a little bit about Kirk Cousins, because this is a little of a domino game here, a little Mexican train. But if you saw, the Browns are bringing Russell Wilson in for a visit. So now I go full Brian Windhorst mode. Why would they do that? Maybe it's because they don't believe Atlanta will release Kirk Cousins, which I have stated unequivocally on this channel. I believe and expect Kirk Cousins to be released. So I'll eat crow. You all can tell me to go fuck myself. I understand. I deserve it. I'm not giving up on that thought. There is definitely a push for Atlanta is willing to hold on to Kirk through March 17th when he gets a $10 million roster bonus. I think we're playing a game of poker. I wonder if there's been a trade offer submitted, maybe from Cleveland, for Kirk, and the Falcons want to make that trade. But Cousins says, no, I will not waive my no trade clause. I don't want you guys to get a thing for me, which seems a little petty. And it's a little bit of a stretch because it's a way out the door, which Cousins wants to leave. So if he wants out, I'm struggling to think he'd actually exercise his no trade clause. If he had a meeting with Arthur Blank about wanting to go somewhere else, and if the Falcons say here somewhere else, I think he'd jump at it, but maybe he just wants to be released so he can sign elsewhere for a cheap veteran minimum contract and really stick it to Atlanta on the way out. I'm struggling to see that more and more as we get closer to this $10 million roster bonus. But if you're Kirk, maybe you're thinking, no, I won't use my no trade clause. I'm going to stay and you're going to pay me $10 million and then you'll release me, which is a gamble because, well, if they release you and the Browns have signed Russell Wilson, where are you going to go? So there's layers to this. It can go a lot of different directions. I don't think this is cut and dry. There are a lot of factors in play here. But right now it looks like Atlanta, they're not bluffing about wanting to keep Kirk as a backup, which I have said over and over again, I don't think he'll be staying as a backup. I think it'd be a horrible idea if you keep Kirk Cousins as a backup. Would he be a good backup on paper? Yeah, he's a good starter when healthy, which he has been for almost all of his career up into the last 18 or so months. But when the man asks to leave and you say no, does that sound like someone that wants to be there? Are you in the business of hostages or volunteers? Do you think Cousins is going to do his absolute best every single week to make sure Michael Penix is ready on Sunday? Guy asked to leave. They said, no, you're stuck. We're keeping you. I personally, from just a human element, don't think he'd give 110% effort every single day. I don't think he'd go there as a scout quarterback in practice and go like, you know what? I'm going to make sure I do my darn best right now. He's probably pissed off. I would be. They won't let me go somewhere else where I can start. They've screwed me over twice. I signed here and I said I want to end my career here, and then they drafted my replacement 6 weeks later. And now a year later, I want to be released and they won't let me go. I don't think that's a good thing to have in the locker room. So I'd hope that the Falcons come to their senses and realize probably not the best mentor for a young quarterback in Penix. Let's just cut our losses and move on altogether like Denver did with Russell Wilson. And I think Bo Nix had a pretty good first year without Russ breathing down his neck, always trying to get back on the field. I'm struggling to see the pros. Yes, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, and if Penix got hurt, he'd be a nice quarterback to come in off the bench. But the backup quarterback job is so much more than just the possibility of playing. What about all the weeks Penix isn't hurt? You think Kirk's going to be in the meetings with Penix and the quarterback coach, TJ Yates, and Zach Robinson, giving his all to make sure Penix has everything he needs to be successful? I doubt it. So I think it's a mistake to keep Kirk Cousins. I think it's got disaster written all over it. And we'll find out what happens. It's going to be a fun next couple of days, though. March 17th, that $10 million roster bonus is due. We'll find out whether or not Atlanta is bluffing or not. Now, let me know if you want the Falcons to keep Kirk Cousins. Scroll on down, give me a yes or give me a no in the comment section if you'd like Atlanta to keep on and hold on to Kirk.